What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell, or as more commonly known on this program, Glenn and Jams. But welcome to another show. And in this episode, we're going to discuss a Raven going to be sticking around a little bit longer here, and we're real excited to get into that. But before we get into it, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we greatly appreciate it. So, James, who is sticking around and staying in the flock a little longer?
That's right. I'm all smiles for this episode because my boy, number 35, Gus the Bus Edwards, is here to stay, assigned through not only this year, but the following 2 years, signed a 2-year extension worth $10 million. Really a friendly deal for the team this year, and it also puts some money in his pocket. So I'm super, super happy and thrilled for Gus Edwards as a person, of course, a Liberian-born child, and having to come over to the United States at the age of 5, betting on himself leaving Miami, going to Rutgers, betting on himself going to the Ravens in would end up being a stacked running back room, and showing out in every moment. I mean, this guy epitomizes what I would consider to be like true Baltimore culture and like what we stand for as a region inside the United States, as a city, as a town, as a state, and then also as a team in the Ravens. And so all smiles here, baby. I don't know though, Glenn, do you have the details of the deal in front of you? If not, I can pull them up in 1 sec.
Yeah, I don't have them right in front of me. So yeah, if you want to effort at that, and I'll just double down on a couple things here. Gus Edwards is one of 2 players that have started their career with 3 straight seasons of 700 plus yards and 5+ yards per carry. And that list is just Gus Edwards and Nick Chubb. So, this guy has an incredible amount of consistency throughout his first 3 years in the league. And, the improvements we've seen from him making, not just in his game, but also in his body, show no signs of slowing down and only getting better from here on out. So do you have those numbers, Jimbo? Or are you still after
I do. I absolutely do. So I think it's a really great deal. Gus Edwards is going to get 3.75 in a signing bonus. So he'll get that today or whenever it, goes through his bank account as part 2, of course. So this year he'll get that signing bonus, and then he'll get $1 million in salary this year. He'll get 3.25 in 2022, and then 4.3 in 2023. And, while that's quote unquote, like semi backloaded, it's not like a super inflated deal. The most lucrative part of that is the end of that deal. He's also still going to be in the prime of his career. It's not like, this guy's 32 right now and we're off, we're kicking the can down the road. I would be very confident that we get every single year out of that contract, and he gets every single, penny off that contract unless injury or something like that. But you said it. Model of consistency. Like, I mean, it's just insane the things that Gus Edwards has done on the football field. And one thing that I want you to dispel, Glenn, that you talked about is the idea that it's just the Lamar effect.
Right.
That it's just the Lamar effect. And I know you got some cool stats to talk about that. So I'm really excited for everyone to take a look at this as well and listen up, because I think this is really important.
Yeah. So first of all, when he came in and really first kind of sprang onto the scene nationally was in 2019 season, when he led the league in first down rate and he finished 3rd in the league in yards per carry. And this was remember, this is a guy who was undrafted. This isn't a guy who was considered to be much of a prospect and certainly not even good enough to get taken in the later round. So the fact that he quickly asserted himself as one of the better backs in the league is impressive. But here's another one that's even more impressive. Gus Edwards was 3rd in the league last season in 2020 in rushing yards over expected per attempt. And by the way, the only 2 in front of him were J.K. Dobbins at number 2 and Nick Chubb at number 1. So that tells me that it's not just the system. It's not just the Lamar effect. It's the fact that these guys are getting the most out of every play. It's not like, well, that's what's blocked for them because they have a great system that causes a lot of confusion, deception, and the fear of Lamar pulling it and going around the edge. Certainly that plays a part in it. But the fact that these guys are getting more than what's expected and what's blocked for them tells me that they're doing a heck of a job. So Gus Edwards is certainly more than just a system back, that's only a product of the Ravens' unique rush attack. This is a guy that would be successful anywhere he went, and we're just lucky to have him here in Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did some digging on the to help drill down on that stat. And something that's really interesting is that when they evaluate the over expectation portion of it, they take the defense's pre-snap formation into account. So like guys in the box, the way that they're set up to stop the offense, the one-on-one battle, the yards after contact, all of that is part of this formula when they're calculating this over expectation amount. And Gus, like you said, third in the league. That's just crazy. And then on top of that, like you said, he led in so many statistical categories. 2019, according to PFF, his worst graded year. I mean, that's insane. Crazy. I got some really other cool stats for you guys. I could go on and on, but another one I want to bring up that I think is really interesting here is that Gus Edwards, I've said this before, but Gus Edwards leads the NFL in let me make sure I get this right. Rate of rush attempts tackled for a loss. So I had you do this on the show a while ago, Glenn, but I want to repeat this. If any of you guys had to guess what that number was, that means the percentage of times that he rushes the football, he's tackled for a loss. I would, unless you are a person that pores over the stats, you're probably not going to realize that his number leads the NFL, best in NFL history, at 1.38% of the time he touches the football.
So you're telling me over 98% of the times he touches the ball, it goes for positive yards?
Yeah, and think about all the guys that are considered power backs. Gus Edwards is the highest rated power back in the NFL.
That's higher than King Derrick Henry, right? And by the way, Derrick Henry, fifth on this list in yards above the expected. So, it is insane to think of how successful he's been, how productive he's been, and people forget just how big this guy is. I mean, he's the same height, right? Or he's 2 inches shorter than he's the same weight as Derrick Henry, and 2 inches shorter. So he's still 6'1", 245 pounds. I mean, this is a huge, huge guy that can move. He can move very quickly. So, I'm impressed by Gus. And let me just go over a couple other things.
Yeah.
PFF graded him as an 85 overall last year, 86.5 as a rusher. And people think that he's just a short yardage power back, but he showed he's more than that, Jimbo. As a receiver, this guy, he expanded his passing game last season more than ever before and caught 9 passes for over 127 yards, which isn't a ton, but you got to remember, this is a guy who's, not given a ton of opportunities to catch the ball. So he's proven that he can, when throwing the ball, this guy catches everything that's thrown his way. I was looking at his stats. He caught 100% of his targets through his first 2 seasons, and he caught, 9 out of 13 last year. So he's got an 82% catch rate for his career, which is just in line and better, in fact, than most running backs. So this guy is a do-it-all, although not asked to do a ton of receiving because there's other options on the team. He could do that as well. I mean, this is a guy who checks every box, and if J.K. Dobbins were to go down for an extended period of time, the Ravens would be absolutely fine leaning on Gus's shoulders. This guy's got broad shoulders. He can handle the workload.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to keep pouring on here with, as you know, he's my favorite Raven at the time. And so, for the time being. But another stat that I think is really awesome, that's really cool, is, of course, that Edwards ranks among the NFL running backs and yards per carry at 5.2. But he does all of that with the shortest long rush of 25 yards of any player in the top 10. So to be able to have a 5.2 average while having the shortest long run in that category is just insane to me. I mean, the consistency with which he churns out yards.
What is that? I just want to double down because what that says is that he just has very few short gains or negative gains.
Right.
Because if he doesn't have that big gain to pull the average up, that means he must have very little, if not any, short gains or negative gains, because that's the only way he'd be able to stay at that 5.2 average.
Yeah, and then on top of that, he averages 3.3 yards after contact, because that's the only other way you're able to do that, right? I mean, and we were talking about this. Think about that. 3.3 yards, whatever the math is, it's somewhere
10
between
feet.
10 feet and change, whatever the case may be. But that's another basketball height laid down on the ground that he is just dragging people forward.
Yep.
That's insane to me. It's not 1, it's not 2. It's over 3 yards. Some players, who was it? Jacobs averaged 3.9 yards per carry in total as a running back. Gus Edwards averaged almost that after contact.
Crazy. Absolutely insane. This guy is a beast. He's a handful to take down. And he never misses games. I mean, he's always ready to play, always available, doesn't even miss practice. I mean, this guy has been the model of consistency and really just the model of that every undrafted free agent should look to and say, wow, I could do what Gus did. I could follow in those footsteps, prove myself in camp, gain playing time, prove myself at every step of the way, and eventually sign a very lucrative contract, which, as you mentioned, is just the first. Yeah. I don't expect this to be his last big hit. I mean, I think he's gonna have an opportunity to hit free agency or get an extension from the Ravens while he's still young enough and still has plenty of football in him. And I would not be surprised at all if the Ravens decide to extend him, because if he keeps going at this pace, I mean, there's no reason the Ravens wouldn't want to extend this guy when you look at what he brings to the table. So very excited to have him here in Baltimore for at least the next couple years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. Just the last thing I'll mention, of course, because he's an undrafted free agent, undrafted rookie, he's only, going into his 4th year. So he's able to hit it kind of early and get that money early. So we're absolutely happy for him as well. Really excited that Gus Edwards is going to be in the backfield. There's so many more things we could say about old Gus, but I can't wait to see him out there. The other thing I'll say too is his body transformation is just ridiculous. His first year, I mean, he's still, productive, but stiff and kind of blocky. And now he's only gotten stronger and leaner and looser in his hips. I mean, I don't know if he's doing some Zumba or whatever it is. Whatever is working, man. He's got the shimmy going. So I'm excited to see what Gus Edwards does this coming season. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are. I am on cloud 9, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.